So the Peter Slipper sexual harassment case has been thrown out, and how, by a judge today. In fact, it was pretty much about as absolute a decision as anyone could hope for if you were Peter Slipper. James Ashby was basically completely written off in this decision that was made today. The judge made comment after comment after comment that were deeply critical of James Ashby for bringing the sexual harassment case, but also deeply critical of plenty of people on the Liberal side of politics, most notably Mal Brough. Now, you would know if you are a regular viewer of this program that while I have been deeply critical of Peter Slipper, I have very rarely spoken about the sexual harassment case. I waited until this moment in time to be able to start having an opinion on it. My view is that Peter Slipper has disqualified himself as the Speaker of the House for a lot of other reasons other than the sexual harassment case that has now been 100% disproven and thrown to one side. I have mocked him after, well, frankly, he made it way too easy when he turned around and he decided when he was the Speaker of the House not just to whack on all of the robes. Remember that ridiculous parade that he would have for himself at the start of a sitting season? And then there's been the excellent reporting that's been done by their Financial Review that not enough people in the Canberra Gallery have actually taken up, and that is docket by docket going through how he decides to use his entitlements when it comes to travel. Specifically, the way he uses the absolute maximum of what he is allowed to when it comes to using things like the ministerial and MP cars, the Comcar service that is around. But there are a couple of things that I wanted to say going into this evening that I have noticed on Twitter all day, and plenty of people who are crowing, wanting some sort of an inquiry into the Liberal Party's involvement in all of this. Pretty obviously, Mal Brough went far too far. Pretty obviously, Christopher Pyne was involved in an ongoing conversation with James Ashby. Both of those men deserve the heat that is coming their way in the next few days. Anyone who has tried to talk about Peter Slipper and the sexual harassment stuff now has to wear it on their face that this thing has fallen over, and how. But this is not a total example of the Liberal Party going too far. There are two examples that I want people who are up on their Twitter high horses to take note of. Most importantly, the Prime Minister back in April, remember, when evidence was starting to come out of this case, decided to suspend Peter Slipper as the Speaker of the House. Remember, a line had been crossed. Now, that wasn't Liberal Party spin, that wasn't wishful thinking from Mal Brough. That was the Prime Minister who wanted to remove, as she put it, a dark cloud over Australian politics that was Peter Slipper, allegations, not just the sexual harassment ones, and the issues to do with Craig Thomson. And the second is that while Peter Slipper has been awarded costs, James Ashby will have to pay all of his legal bills, there are some people that are out of pocket that have nothing to do with this, and that's you and me. The federal government, when it was involved in this court case, the court case that today was so spectacularly dismissed, well, they decided to cut and run on Peter Slipper. They decided that they should settle with James Ashby just in case his case got up. Well, clearly, despite the fact that at one point in time the government had 21 lawyers in there, their collective brainpower chose to pull on the wrong lever because they settled this case, the case that was thrown out so dramatically, so easily against Peter Slipper by James Ashby, but not after you and I have had to give James Ashby $50,000. So how does it work when Nicola Roxon and the Prime Minister now want to have an inquiry into the Liberal Party? For all of the dirty tactics that are involved in this, it is the actions of the Labor Party that are equally culpable here. After all, they were the ones who decided to put a bloke on the bench and pay him $300,000 for not doing his job as Speaker, and then ultimately giving his victim $50,000 of our money.